you. Oh, hello.
Chris Gethard, thanks so much for
Hi.
being here.
Please, thanks for having me back after that last disaster I was a part
That
of.
last disaster is one of my favorite disasters that has ever happened to me
That's
on
good.
live internet TV.
I enjoy hearing the knowing chuckles of some people who were present for that last time when the cast of the Chris Gethard show tormented me throughout the bulk of our interview.
Decided to publicly embarrass you for about 45 straight minutes.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, it was into the deep end on that one.
What kind of conversations did you have with them afterwards? Considering that they are guests on your show
Yeah,
or a part
cast
of your
members,
show,
yeah.
did you sort of ream them a little bit?
No, I didn't really say much about it, and then we got off stage, and they were all like, "I think that went great," and I was like, So it was one of those. But
I
this one
agree
should
with
be
them.
a lot more calm. Yeah, I liked it, but it felt a little bit. It was surreal. It was like entering an alternate reality a bit, for sure.
It felt like an advertisement for a very small select group of people to watch your show.
Yes,
Like,
a group of
Do
people.
you like comedic disasters that last way too long? You'll love our show.
Yeah, that's our stock and trade for sure, for sure.
Well, this isn't like that at all. This
Oh.
Career Suicide, this is your one-man show. This is very much not a disaster. A greater compliment is needed for this. It's a very well put together story.
Thank you so much.
What made you decide to sort of bring all of these things that you've talked about in both your live show, that you've written about on blogs, to sort of a one-man show?
Well, a lot of it was, it would come up, like you said, like kind of piecemeal. Like on the Gethard show, I'd mention it, or we'd take calls from kids who said, like, "Oh, you talk about being depressed, and that means something to me that you like speak about it." And there was a long stretch where I was working a lot with Mike Birbiglia, and he was on the road workshopping his new show, and I'd go out on the road with him a lot. And he said to me, he's like, "I've heard you like mention it in the context of jokes or like here and there." He's like, "Well, what are the real stories?" And I told Mike some of like the more grim stories from like my past dealing with depression, and he was like, "Dude, that's hilarious. Talk about it on stage." And I was like, "I think that's a real bad idea, man. Like, my family doesn't know most of this stuff." And he was like, "Dude, if you can make that funny, you've got something really cool on your hands and something special." So I took that as a challenge, and he has a show at Union Hall that he does here in New York, and he was like, "Come do like 20 minutes on that show and see how it goes." And I almost went just to sort of like spite him, like, "Oh, this won't work," and then it worked, and he was like, "See, man," and then I took that as a challenge, and I've spent like a solid over 2 years now working on the show and getting the material to a place where I can honestly say, like, I think it's really funny, and that was hard, and to go up in stand-up clubs and tell like a 7-minute long story about suicide or the side effects of medication and like a lot of bombing, but then figured out how to not bomb, and now it's turned into this nice show, and it's a nice directed piece, and I'm feeling very proud of it.
What initially made it bomb, and what lifted it from bombing?
Well, it's like, going up, I do tons of stand-up. Like, that's most of what I do is stand-up comedy. And, you're...
It's so interesting. Sorry to interrupt, but
not
that's
at all.
Not something that I've always sort of known you for. I've known you for your improv
Yes.
at UCB and for your show, which, while you're the host of the show, is in many ways an ensemble piece.
Yes, definitely. It's a collaborative thing. At UCB, like, I love it to death, love improv, but probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I just kind of hit a wall and moved on to stand-up, and I've been focusing on that by and large. As far as performing goes, it's that and the Chris Gethard show are like my two big pursuits. So yeah, I think I'll always be known as like a UCB guy, and I'm very proud of that. But stand-up has been much more the thing past half decade or so. And, like going up in a club where it's like people have paid a 2-drink minimum,